Hi guys, please excuse my very messy hair. I've just taken my hair out of the ponytail that I kind of had it in today. I've just gotten back from being at Cedar Point. I'm sorry I didn't really film anything. I just got really anxious or towards like partway through the day, and I didn't really film anything. Plus, I had to keep my phone pretty much in my bag the entire time because we were walking around so much and trying to get in different rides and stuff. And you basically at Cedar Point have to, before any ride, take your bag and anything that could potentially fall off the ride into a locker. It's kind of a liability thing. So I really wasn't able to film really anything except that one clip of the ride that actually we didn't even go on. That was the first ride that we had decided to go on to, and apparently when we got there it was like a 3-hour wait. So we decided to leave after I had gotten probably like not even quite halfway to like through the line. So it kind of sucked in a way because the whole day it was on and off raining, and so that it was kind of colder early in the morning. Like we got there around noon today, and when we got there and we're walking to the actual park from the parking spot that we had gotten, it started pouring and it was very cold, and then it kind of just turned like cold and muggy, which was weird. And then over the course of the day it stayed that way, and then it kind of warmed up at one point after having rained a couple other times. And basically by the time we were leaving, which was around like 4:30 or so, it started raining again. But Cedar Point is like right on Lake Erie, so any kind of rain that it gets comes directly from the lake, which sucks. But I had a good time regardless. I mean, I kind of had a good time, I guess. I have this weird thing with roller coasters now, I think, because I've always been really afraid of falling from a great height and dying. Like, that is my version of being afraid of height. In the past, though, I've gone to amusement parks, I've ridden roller coasters, and I've never had a problem. The last time, though, I was at Cedar Point, I was like 10 years old. So it's been over 10 years. It's been now like 12 years, I think, since the last time I went to Cedar Point specifically. Yeah, we went on one roller coaster at Cedar Point, which was Magnum. The Magnum XL, I think, was what it was called. And I kid you not, after getting off of that ride, like after the support barriers that kind of keep you locked in place on that ride lifted, my leg was shaking. Like I was about to have a panic attack. And so that pretty much stuck with me the whole rest of the day. I did go on one other ride just to try to, do something, like to just, maybe face my fear a little bit more, considering that I didn't realize like I was so scared of roller coasters until I did that first one, and I didn't want, to completely chicken out of the day. So I went on one more, and by the time that ride was over, it was already like going on 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We only, like I said, rode the 2 rides, but that was because most of the other rides that we wanted to ride either had long wait times or something, and so we really only had time for like 2 rides the entire day. And then by about 4:15 we were all kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna go home. It was like a 4-hour drive there, and it was gonna be a 4-hour plus drive back, so it was just better for us to leave a little earlier in the afternoon. So all in all, not a awful time, just I think I realized I'm a lot more scared of roller coasters than I had originally thought. And again, that's because I haven't been to Cedar Point specifically in like 12 years, but I actually haven't been on a roller coaster since I was 13. Because when I was in the 8th grade, every 8th grade class at my middle school would be able to go to Michigan's Adventure, which is in the northern part of Michigan. I think it's near Muskegon. I don't remember exactly. But every year, the 8th grade class would get to go and do that at the end of the year. And I remember vividly having a great time at Michigan's Adventure. I wasn't scared of any of the rides. There was one ride where pretty much all of us in my class rode like at least 10 times over the course of the day because it was the most fun. And it was a lot of fun. I had a really great time. For some reason, though, maybe it's because my fear of falling and dying is a lot more prevalent in my life that I guess it must have really just, taken time to marinate, really, I guess if you want to call it that. My panic attack, though, really didn't start until when the cars of the roller coaster start going up that first hill to like build some momentum for the rest of the ride and everything. And I don't know why it was that then all of a sudden I started panicking, but pretty much as soon as we crested the hill and started going down, I was in full panic mode. I couldn't stop shaking. I was screaming. My throat is really sore from screaming. I don't know if you guys can tell, it sounds a little raspy to me at least. Yeah, so that was not fun. And then because I didn't want to feel like I was bringing everybody else down, I really tried to face my fear with all of it. I was really anxious though all day, and that really sucked. I hate feeling anxious. I hate panicking. I hate any of that. But I did go on another ride, which was a little better, but also not at the same time, considering that the second ride had loops, so I was upside down. So then pretty much from there, I just was doing the best I could. But I'm feeling better now that I'm home. My legs hurt like crazy though, because we pretty much walked over the entire park, like probably almost 3 times. So, as far though as if I've done any reading today, I have done a little bit. I didn't get to read nearly as much as I wanted to on the ride there and back though, because I kind of got to talking with my friend Brian on the way there, and then on the way back I slept a little bit because I was so tired. So I did, though, get through about 94 pages of Summerlings by Lisa Howorth, and I finally now kind of understand what the story's about. It's kind of a historical fiction book where it's dealing with these kids that all kind of grow up together in the same neighborhood in, I think, like the early 60s in DC, and essentially it's like the beginning of the Cold War, and these kids are like younger than 10, so they're kind of starting to question things that are going on in their neighborhoods and with their families. This particular neighborhood, this street that has like all the main characters on it, is filled with all kinds of different people. There are some Ukrainian families. There are people who, are anti-communist. There's a Brazilian family. There's a Dutch family. Like, there's all kinds of different people within this one street. And the story is pretty much following these like 3 kids that are best friends, and they're kind of like, it's not quite a coming of age story, I would say, but it's kind of like almost like a slice of life story in a way, because it follows especially this boy John, who is pretty much raised by his grandparents because mom is very sick and is in the hospital, and dad kind of had run off and he only sees him like once a year, and his older sister is like, she's at like an all-girls school, I think, that's a boarding school. So his grandparents are the one that take care of him, but they don't really do a good job of it, in my opinion. And his grandfather is very anti-communist and, things of that nature. So he kind of is sprinkled with those kinds of ideologies and things of that nature. And really the biggest piece of the story that I can really identify with as having anything to do with the actual plot is that the 3 kids that are involved in the story, John and 2 of his friends, Ivan and Max, they start to understand that there's this spider infestation going on within their town, within especially the street, and they're trying to figure out why that is. And there's thoughts that it might be, Russian spies, there's thoughts that it might be all these different things because the Cold War is happening at this time. So everybody is like looking out for themselves. Everyone is like suspicious of their neighbor, things of that nature. So these kids are trying to find out exactly why this infestation is happening. And then on top of that, they're also like, at this point, I don't know if it's really like a part of the plot per se, but a big portion of the story that I've read so far is that they're planning this like neighborhood party because they're trying to get back at these these twin kids that basically like have ousted them from their pool they have in their backyard because something happened, and they're kind of like, yeah, you're no longer allowed to like come and hang out here. So I think that it's like a part of the story, but I think it's really mostly about the friendship between these 3 kids, and especially like John's side of everything and trying to understand everything that's going on in this time. And it's kind of like one of those, it's kind of a coming of age story in that sense, but I also think it's kind of more of a slice of life story in the fact that you're really only seeing like this one summer of this person's life, from when they were like nine or 10, I think. So it's kind of it's an interesting story. I was really not jiving with it at first, but I think now that I understand more of what the kind of the point of the story is, I'm getting into a little bit more. So my hope for this week is to finish that and then get through Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell, I think. So that's pretty much all I have for you now. I'm gonna basically, though, for the rest of the night, sit and watch YouTube videos because I am exhausted and I just want to sit and relax for the rest of the night. And tomorrow I'm working from home because I didn't know what time we were gonna get back tonight from Cedar Point, and I didn't want to get home late and then have to turn around, get up really early the next morning and go to work. I also have to go pick up my car from the shop, so that'll be nice though because then I'll actually have my car and I can actually go back to work on Wednesday. But I know tomorrow's probably going to be a bit crazy with work because I'm going to have a lot of stuff to catch up on, and so that's going to be, it's going to be fun. Hey guys, so it is about 4:33 in the afternoon now. I'm technically still working. I still have about 2 hours left of my work day, but I've pretty much got everything done today that I need to, which, let me tell you, took for freaking ever. I am so sore. My wrist hurts. My neck hurts from being at the amusement park yesterday. Like, I can't really move my neck a lot without feeling like the muscles in, like, basically the space with where my neck meets my shoulders is like super tight and tense. So I'm trying to stretch it out the best I can, but I'm having a real kind of rough start to my week already because they say everything comes in threes. So last week, my car essentially dies. I find out that my dog that I've had since I was about 6 years old passes away. And I just got a call earlier today from my mother saying that one of my great aunts is dying and she doesn't have much time left. So please excuse if, you know, obviously last week's vlog was a mess, and if this week I'm just either angry or sad the whole time because it has just been a very, very rough few weeks. And then also, you know, on top of that, you know, I found out yesterday that I'm a lot more scared of roller coasters than I originally thought I was. Robert's car is also, he's fixing it now while he's back at his dad's house, but that's coming up with some problems here and there. I'm just having a really rough few weeks, and it's all things that I have had really no control over. So please excuse if this vlog specifically is just me kind of getting a little angry at times because things are just not okay right now. I'm not okay, and I'm trying to go through the best of it I can, but it's just a little bit rough. But like I said, it's 4:30 now. I'm supposed to be done with work today about 6:30, and I've got everything done, so I'm gonna get my vlog from last week basically rendering, probably edit it a little bit before I have to leave, because once 6:30 rolls around, I am packing up my stuff. I have to go do laundry tonight, and I have to go grocery shopping. So far today, I've not read anything, mostly while I've been working. I just had YouTube videos playing in the background because I need background noise, otherwise it is way too quiet here. I'm gonna try to get through more Summerlings tonight. I don't know how much of it I'm going to end up reading because I'm not gonna be back here until probably closer to 8. But I am going to take that with me at least so that if I have time during the drive cycle, I can get it done. Tomorrow is going to be super busy too. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to read then other than listening to my audiobook of The Hating Game. Tomorrow is just basically crazy because obviously I have work. I'm working till 6, but I also have a fundraiser thing I am doing with my mom, which I think I talked about last week. That is from 5 to 6, and then I'm going to have dinner with her, so I'm not going to be back here until probably closer to 8 o'clock at night. And then I'm only going to have a little bit of time before I have to go to bed, so I'm probably going to stay up and I don't know, watch something or maybe even read a little bit of something while Robert watches something. Once Wednesday is done, Thursday and Friday are going to be very normal, except for the fact that I'm still working over until 6 because of the fact that I took yesterday off and I have to have 40 hours in by the end of the week. So. Good morning, everyone. It is a very dark, cold, and rainy Thursday, so this week has kind of been the same as last week with my bad news coming up and pretty much just emotionally unstable kind of for the week. So Tuesday night, Tuesday sometime during the day, I was informed by my mother that a great aunt of mine who I knew was in hospice care for the last couple months was not given much more time to live. So it was going to be really any day that she was going to pass away. And I kind of was already really feeling super crappy. Wednesday morning, I was just in such a bad mood already because of everything that had been happening over the last week and a half or so. And then I get to work yesterday morning and my mom texts me saying that she needs me to call her when it is safe to, essentially like when I got to work. And unfortunately, either late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, my great aunt did pass away. In all of that, basically, yesterday I did get to do some reading over the course of the day while I was at work. I read about another 30% of Summerlings. I'm like just over 60% of the way through the book at this point. I don't exactly know how many pages I read yesterday. I'll have to figure that out when I get to work later. But I like it. It's not like super plot driven though. It's a really weird story. I don't know necessarily if I would say that it's a 4-star by any means or a 5-star at all, but it's interesting. I kind of like the idea that it has, but it's not the best story I've ever read. I think it's going to be kind of more of like a 2-star or maybe a 2.5-star for me because I don't know. I'm just not really, I'm not impressed with it. I really am not. I think it's going to be, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to have to because it's one of my books for the Newts and I can't really DNF anything. But it's not that great. You know, it's enough to get me through the story and be interested in like what these kids are doing because the kids themselves are pretty interesting and pretty fun to read from. But there's not really a lot of substance, and I don't mind that so much when there's not a plot to a story for like a contemporary. I totally understand why that's the case because typically in a contemporary you're just following a set of characters and they're like their coming of age story, which this is considered a coming of age story, but it's not really that interesting. It's not that interesting of a coming of age story for me to really be impressed with it, and I don't know. I just don't like it as much, but I need to finish it for the Newts, so I'm going to try to finish it today if I can. I did make sure to bring my copy of Spellslinger, though, so at the very least, if I don't start it today, I could start it maybe tomorrow after I finish up my work or something like that. So it is Friday now. It is about 4:54 in the afternoon, and I am back at my apartment. So last night, I ended up actually after work heading straight to the visitation for my great aunt's funeral because I had left early enough from work that I was able to go to it. I didn't originally think I was going to be able to. And then afterwards, I went back to my parents' house and stayed the night. And this morning, I ended up having to work for a couple hours. And then we went to the funeral, which was very nice. It was a really nice Catholic funeral, which required a lot of standing up and sitting down and kneeling and stuff, which I had never been to before. So that was very interesting. And then the cemetery was actually right down the road, so we were able to just quickly go over there to bury my great aunt. I almost said grandmother, as my great aunt. Afterwards, we went back to the church in their gymnasium for a luncheon, and after we finished eating, I essentially left to come back here, and I've been here since about 3 o'clock. I'm finishing up with work right now. I only needed to work a couple more hours today before I could call it good, and then tomorrow I'm going to have to work another few hours to catch up with hours that I pretty much missed this week because of going to Lake Cedar Point and stuff. I didn't really read a lot of Summerlings because I realized that when I got to my parents' house, I actually forgot my iPad, and I don't care so much to read on my Kindle app on my phone unless I absolutely have to. So I didn't really do a lot of reading, but I did listen to The Hating Game for a little bit yesterday. I've been kind of listening like 2 chapters every day while I'm at work, and then picking a chapter to read on Saturdays when I'm cleaning and stuff. I haven't listened to any of it today because since I've kind of been up and around and stuff, I haven't really had a chance to, but I think tonight I might listen to it a little bit. I think for the rest of the evening, it's going to be pretty chill. I'm going to get dinner made, and then I think I'm going to finish Summerlings because I don't have a lot of it left. Like, I only have a couple hours worth of reading left of it, so I'm going to quickly try to get that done. Good morning, guys. It is Sunday. It is, I think, about 11:30. And I've really just woken up in the last like 15 minutes really because I don't know, I just was really sleepy this morning. I woke up at 9:30 and then I went back to sleep, and then I woke up again and decided I probably should get up. So yesterday, on Saturday, I ended up finally finishing Summerlings by Lisa Howorth. And here's part of the reason that I had a hard time with it is because I really didn't get the point of the story. So the concept of the story was really interesting because it was supposed to be kind of a coming-of-age story that talked about, you know, these kids trying to understand the world that they're living in and all these things, but it really even wasn't a coming-of-age story. There was so much to it that didn't really make any sense to me, or a lot of things that kind of seemed way too far-fetched for 8 and 9-year-olds to be able to do. Because essentially, for instance, one of the main points of the story is that the kids are really obsessed with these spiders. They're obsessed with like researching spiders and getting involved with them, which for one, yes, a child at that age could become obsessed with something that they're really interested in, but not to the extent I think that these kids were. Like, they were understanding encyclopedic terms, they were understanding everything and anything about what a spider could do, or a scorpion or something like that, which, unless they were kind of like a savant, there's no way I think these kids would have understood everything that was going on with these spiders. It seemed very far-fetched to me in that idea. Another thing is that when they're researching these spiders, they find out that people are suspecting that maybe the spiders that are infesting this town, specifically, basically in DC, are, you know, being used as Russian spies. And so that's part of the reason how the kids are trying to figure out about their world they're living in, because they want to know, are these spiders actually being used as spies, and how are they doing that, and all these things. But the kids really are kind of getting so many different bits of information from different people who really don't seem to have any idea of what's really going on. The main character essentially has 2 people that he really relies on for information, but their information is so misguided and really diluted and things of that nature. The main character, Jean, is raised by his grandparents, and his grandfather is very much someone who is anti-communist, which is, you know, fine and everything, but the information that I think he tries to give John is really misguided. There's a lot of stuff that I think he is so set in his ways about that it kind of influences the way that he sends that information to John. Just, he seemed very uninformed despite how informed he was supposed to be about everything. I just don't understand anything of what he was trying to say to John. But also that's because I don't know much about, you know, the Cold War and everything that was going on. So that might be my ignorance to the history of that. But it just seemed really strange to me. Another thing, going back to the idea of the spiders, is that in the story, the kids find out that there is this certain scorpion that is being taken to the Natural History Museum, I think the Natural Science Museum or something like that in DC, and this scorpion in particular is really poisonous, and if you were to, you know, be bitten by it, you'd get really sick. These 8, 9, 10-year-old kids decide they're gonna break into the museum to steal this scorpion so they can use it to get back at a school bully. And that really kind of grinds my gears a little bit, because how
There is no way that an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid is going to know exactly how to pull off a heist like that. There is no way. Again, unless they were some kind of a savant, there is no way an average 8, 9, 10-year-old kid is even going to know what the idea of stealing is and how to do it and how to perform it effectively. And there were a lot of points in this story similar to that instance that seemed very unrealistic, very, very far-fetched for what I believe an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid could do. And I felt like Lisa Howorth was just making things happen that couldn't really happen, I think, in real life, just for the sake of it being something a little different. And I don't know, I feel like there were a lot of times in the story where not only was the story a little unrealistic, but it was also very confusing because there were so many different people within the story that seemed to have an impact in this kid's life that I didn't understand what the impact was. The only one I knew for sure the kind of impact that she had on him was this character Alina, who is the aunt of one of his friends, Ivan, and she was just, one of those women that, everyone seemed to love. She was very likable, and the kids really loved her. There's a little bit of abuse going on her end. She is being abused by somebody in the story, so I would say that it's a trigger warning for some people, because it was very, very shocking to see. Not that it wasn't shocking, because I know that stuff kind of happened in the past, but the person who abused her, I think, was what shocked me. So go into that with knowing that there's a little bit of abuse within the story. But she was the only one who really seemed to have any impact on John's life that I could understand, because she was a adult woman. She was very, very kind to the kids. Like, she almost kind of acted as if they were her own kids in a way, and protected them and did everything she could with them, and made them actually feel like they were important kids. And I think that was a really great impact on the kids. The end of the story too, regarding Alina, was very, very strange. Just this whole story was weird. I don't really know what to make of it. It wasn't really that interesting. It took me forever to get through it because I found really no interest in it, and everything was just very, very weird. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know what to think about any of it because everything was either not making sense or was way too far-fetched for 8, 9, 10-year-old kids to do, and I really didn't know what to do with it. I did finish it though, so I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because I just found so many problems with it, but the fact that I was even able to get through it was good. I just feel like the concept of the story was kind of misguiding. I feel like the synopsis was very, very misguiding for what the story was, and I really did not like this story at all. I really found it to be tedious and, again, didn't make any sense in terms of what was going on in the story and how these kids were able to do so many different things that seemed to be very adult-like at their age. I've just never met an 8-year-old kid that was able to fully plan out a freaking heist and understand what the consequences of that were. Done with that one though. That one did complete one of the other challenges I have for the NEWTS, which was my Muggle Studies A level, which is the only one I needed for Muggle Studies, which was to read a book with a photo element in it. So now, on Sunday, August 18th, over halfway through the month, I am going to finally start Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. This is the group book for the NEWTS. I have completed all of the exams so far for the NEWTS. I only had 4 books I had to read for that, but this is the group book for this month, so I do want to read it. I don't really know anything about this. For the most part, all of these books, except for Shout by Lori Halls Anderson, I knew nothing about going into. And obviously, Shout and the Poppy War were really, really good for me, but the Demon King and Summerlings were not, so I am hoping that I'm going to go back on an upswing with Spellslinger because I have no idea what this is, and I know it is a part of a series, so I hope that I like it enough to where I'm going to continue with the series. Today, though, I have a few things I want to do before I get to that. I have to record my Childhood Friends Let's Play, and I think I'm going to listen to my audiobook of The Hating Game for a little bit because I need to catch myself back up on that. And then I need to make my new weekly spread for my planner, and then just get all these vlog clips uploaded. So I will probably be reading this in the evening, I would assume, maybe this afternoon, depending on how quick everything else goes, because I really don't have a lot to do. But it'll be enough to probably get me through the afternoon. So maybe this evening I'll get started with this one and then hopefully be finishing it sometime this coming week. I do want to say that I'm feeling a lot better. I think that everything is finally settling down, and it really sucks that, you know, my great aunt passed away. And I just, you know, I'm trying to get through all of these things that have happened, and I'm thankful that finally I think everything's going to be slowing down, everything's going to be a little calmer, nothing's going to happen. So I think whatever person decided that I needed to have some strife in my life is done, because I've been feeling a lot better, and I'm trying to, you know, get back into doing the stuff that I wanted to do. So that also means that my reading's been a little slow, but I am hopeful that I'll be able to finish this and then probably at least get through a couple of my arcs before the end of the month. And, you know, I'm kind of at a point too where there's so many things I have to read that I'm kind of just wanting to focus on my arcs first before I get to anything else, because the arcs are the ones that are important. They are the ones that I have been sent for review and, you know, need to get the reviews out for and stuff like that. So I kind of want to focus on them before I get to anything else. And thankfully, with September not being a readathon specific month for me, I think that'll be a lot better because I'll have a lot more time, I feel, to get through some stuff. I have 15 arcs that I have to get through before, well, for this month specifically. And then I think in September I have like 5 or 6, which isn't that bad. September, I feel like, is where everything kind of slows down in terms of arcs, because I didn't have really many arcs from September to the end of the year. I think in October and November, I only had like 1 or 2 arcs that I was going to be sent for review, and then December I had none. So it'll start slowing down here, I think, but I really want to get these other arcs done, because especially one of them is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, and with how I love the Poppy War, I really want to get to read that one, because I've heard so many good things about how The Dragon Republic has been in terms of a second installment, and I know that R.F. Kuang has just recently posted on Twitter that she is going through edits for her 3rd book in the series. So I'm really excited because I really think this is a great series. I loved the 1st book so much. I was so invested, and I loved how I had no expectations going into this, and this book surprised me at every turn with how it was written and what was going on. So I really want to get to the Dragon Republic, because I do know though that once I finish the Hating Game audiobook I'm going to be starting the A Dance with Dragons audiobook, because I do want to finish the Game of Thrones series, or the Song of Ice and Fire series. And I know that I have technically the audiobook through Overdrive, but I think I'm just going to send it back and just use the YouTube one, because the YouTube one is just fine. It's kind of like robotic, and it kind of sounds like it's a text reader reading the story, but honestly, it gets me through the book. It's a lot easier. And I have no real quarrels with it, other than sometimes the names are mispronounced or whatever, but it's not even really that bad, not enough to really distract me a lot from the novel.